I'm Miranda Luna and I lead the AIBI product team. Today I'm excited to show you a few of the awesome updates we've been making in AIBI land. And we're going to do that through the lens of our own marketing team's kind of use cases and data. Over the past year, they've adopted AIBI wholesale, which we're really excited about. Now, last year, if you recall, we took a look at all sorts of fun stuff around cross-filtering, different conditional coloring and pivot tables. Of course, in the past year, we've been hard at work. We added a few new visualizations like sand key, certainly some maps, and box plots, amongst others. But I want to kind of show you some of the new affordances that are here for authors, not just for viewers. We'll come back to them, I promise. So first and foremost, super important to note, themes are available. I can make every dashboard look and feel just like my corporate brand. We have a special type of visualization for forecasting. So at the click of a button, I can kind of project out what I should expect to see in the future. And again, that's profit model based, leveraging AI functions, so all kind of core to the Databricks platform. One of the things that's just so core to a dashboard author, of course, is being able to author custom calculations. So if I go to view this data set, the one underpinning this visualization, you'll see I have a SQL query here where I'm just selecting kind of some dimensions and then, DBU dollars month to date. I've already gone ahead and added a new dimension, so BU by vertical. It just combines business unit and vertical to kind of have a new slice I can use, as well as a few measures, right? So these, if we take a look, are just giving me a calculation for what percentage of dollar DBUs each fiscal quarter come from each region. Simple stuff. But so helpful for me to be able to do this right in my dashboard because it's going to help with all my interactivity and filtering. But most importantly, what I can do is not just create this at the dashboard local level, I can promote this actually to a metrics view in Unity catalog. So if I want to go ahead and pick the same catalog and schema I've been using, let's give it an obvious name. What we will do is automatically generate the source for that metrics view. We will automatically generate the dimensions, including the ones that came from custom calculations, as well as all of the different measures. And we're going to leave add this metric view to dashboard clicked because we're going to want to use it. So let's go ahead and hit create. And let's take a look at it in the Catalog Explorer. So again, once this metrics view is in the Catalog Explorer, it's not just going to get the performance benefits that everybody gets by using metrics views, but this is now going to be a normal UC securable that I can share throughout my organization, and also ensure that we're all kind of working from the same book when we make these calculations, right? If we have to adjust it in the future, we'll all benefit from that adjustment. It's not going to be kind of why does my number not match your number, because we're all going to be working from kind of that same logic. So if I come back to my dashboard, we can swap over to that metrics view. Easy as pie. Now, this is great. We love doing stuff for dashboard authors. We love doing stuff for folks who are comfortable authoring code. But what about everybody else? What about all the folks who are, not living and breathing Python and dreaming in R? Well, for those folks, I'd very happy to walk you through Databricks One. So Databricks One is our completely reimagined experience targeted for the business user. Now you'll see here, this is not the Databricks workspace, that every data engineer and data scientist in the org knows and loves. There's no left nav bar, there's not 16 types of compute, there's not kind of every different ML affordance of the platform. Instead, I'm presented with a really simple search bar, so I can just search across all my assets. Alternatively, I can say, hey, I'd rather ask Genie directly here. I don't want to search around. I want to get right into kind of asking and answering the question that's top of mind. We also have a filtered list of items that are specifically for me, that are the most important for me to be aware of, trying to help kind of simplify that needle in the haystack problem. And importantly, we've also leaned into the concept of domains here. So domains, again, are going to be kind of collections of objects, of different types of objects, but that are also semantically related. So if I click into this one, simple, 3 dashboards, Genie Spaces apps, just one of each, simple demo. But the key here is that it's, really kind of collected these different object types and grouped them together for me in kind of a unit because they're all related to each other. So I don't have to find the dashboard and then think, okay, let me go find the Genie space that might be kind of related to it. And then let me find the app that might be kind of related to it. I can jump right into this domain and see everything I need to know. So let's click into the dashboard. Great. So as we already saw, we have cross-filtering available to us in this dashboard. Of course, I can click on any of these and apply a filter. But if I want to do that globally, across all different pages, I can do that here. Importantly, really important for every BI consumer, being able to drill. So if I right click, I can drill down to, and you'll see it's APAC FY26 Q2. And, of course I can see my forecast, but dashboards have always been great at, kind of what happened, what could happen. Over the last year, Genie's been awesome at, the exact view I want in my dashboard's not available, so let me ask for a slightly different one and get that generated automatically. But what we really are excited to bring you this year is kind of access to the why. So, when I'm looking at this chart, I see kind of a steady slope and then marked increase, right? That got a lot steeper. Why did we have so many more impressions that week? Like, that's a great thing. What's going on? And when I notice something like that, I can right click and say, hey, ask Genie to explain this increase. And immediately Genie's going to jump into this top drivers analysis. And it's going to tell us what exactly is happening here. So it looks like the impression count increased, and it's mostly coming from our APAC marketing team. Appreciate them. Slight offset in kind of our reach with data architects in this period, but it wasn't enough to kind of take away from that great bump. And then if I want to explore by audience or engagement group and kind of understand some of those factors, I can do that. Right, kind of steady in our call effort, but it looks like we really had an uptick in direct mail and web. Super. So with the click of a button, you can see, last year I would have had to kind of ask Genie a series of questions to guide it to kind of give me this rich of an analysis. But this year I can just say, hey, kind of explain what's contributing to this increase, this decrease, and then I'm off and running. But, the other thing that's really important to think about is not just when there's kind of a question or a why that's inspired by viewing something in a dashboard. Very often I'm just, conversing with Genie directly. So if I go into kind of the standalone experience, this is our marketing engagement Genie. Internally we affectionately call it Marge. So any Simpsons fans out there, this is Marge. And you'll notice that this has all the things we would expect from a Genie space, right? It understands our jargon. We're kind of explaining to our user who lands here, what they can kind of expect in here. And let's start, before we get into the new stuff, let's just see how Genie's doing on the existing stuff. So like, what were it's marketing engagement. Let's ask about that. My most and least effective engagements in America. Cool. So this is Genie's bread and butter. This is what we've seen countless customers have success with over the past year. Being able to kind of ask lookbacks. Oh, and this is the best part about Genie. It's not going to guess, right? It's not going to apply someone else's definition of effective, but it's saying, hey, when you say effective, what do you mean it in terms of? Fantastic. So why don't we say, show me both in terms of U2s and MQLs. So, this is not me. I'm not giving Genie any kid gloves. I'm using all of our internal lingo and our abbreviations, U2s and MQLs, not marketing qualified leads. And it looks like, so it gave me a time period, last quarter, fantastic. I'm seeing this one is most effective in terms of MQLs, this one in terms of U2s. This one looks like a dud, maybe we never run it. Maybe we never ran it. But, this is kind of where we already seen Genie succeed. This is great. But what can it do new this year? Well, so one of the things that we have not been able to kind of have Genie tackle just straight out of the box in the past has been open-ended questions, right? So things like, how could we optimize our funnel? And I'm leaving it, just like we had Genie for the whole past year. And let's see what it says. I think it's going to probably say, sorry, I can't help, wish I could, or something along those. Okay, so question is too vague. So it's saying, what do you what part of the funnel? What do you want to optimize? How would I generate that analysis? Right, like last year I would have had to take Genie step by step of the analysis. I would have had to come up with what are the questions? I would have had to come up with what are the sequence? I'd have to come up with how do we keep track of it along the way. But this year, with the release of deep research, we are now going to be able to leverage Genie's help here. So let's go ahead and ask it again. How could we optimize our funnel? But this time I'm going to put it in deep research mode before I kick it off. So you can see now we're in purple, smart, deep research. And Genie's going to come up with a research plan. So it's thinking on that, and then it's going to present it back to me to review. All right, so it looks like Genie's come up with a research plan. We love that. It's recommending to look at conversion rates at different stages. What are some account characteristics? What effect does the product adoption have on funnel progression? All seem like very reasonable things. If I wanted to modify this plan, I could, but let's just go ahead and approve and start. Cool. Still in purple, still in deep research mode. And Genie's kicking off an analysis on all those different threads, right? So we said, yep, those are all the right sub-steps to look into. Leveraging those Excel SQL warehouses to kind of tackle these questions in parallel. As it starts to kind of complete each one, under the scenes, Genie's also kind of bringing that analysis together. So thinking through each sub-step, starting to complete them, and now behind the scenes, it's stitching it all together. So let's see. Okay, so how can we optimize our funnel? That was our question. And it's saying to focus on improving stages with the lowest conversion rates, right? This meeting scheduled stage has the lowest rate, and it's giving us some data. Now, I don't want to belabor going through each and every step of this analysis and exactly what we should do to optimize this funnel, but I do want to point out a couple things, right? I want to point out that Genie's kind of actually coming to conclusions. It's giving us kind of insights into where the problem actually is, as well as, what we could do about it. But importantly, along with each of those kind of pieces of information, Genie's citing its work. So it's saying, hey, this is the summary of what I did at that stage. This is the data that was returned. And this is how I came to that conclusion. This is how I came to that recommendation. This is how I came to that insight. That really puts me in the driver's seat as, an analyst or a business user leveraging Genie to kind of really scrutinize whether it's correct. Maybe, again, I want to go back and make a modification to that research plan, rerun. The power is completely with me. Well, thank you for letting me walk you through some of the latest and greatest in AIBI. We are thrilled this year to kind of move all of our customers from being able to ask kind of what happened to, why, what if, help me figure out this problem. And we can't wait to see what you do with all of these new developments.